Okay, so in today's lesson, we're going to be looking at how popular culture achieves widespread consumer access, which is usually through the use of media and technology, and also how it is constantly changing and evolving. And as we'll come to see, the constantly changing and evolving is definitely connected to achieving widespread access, and we'll look at why that is in a minute. So, popular culture achieves widespread consumer access because it needs to be widely accessed for popular culture to remain popular. It needs to be accessed widely, and so corporations, and this is also so corporations that are involved in the popular culture can make money. So it's very important that popular culture is widely accessed so that businesses like Coca-Cola or Rolex or Lamborghini that are sponsoring the making of music videos or films can actually make money, because the more the people that see the popular culture, the more advertisements they get, and so that's kind of where their interest is. So I've got a bit of a diagram here for you. So essentially a cultural product becomes popular, and then from that businesses link themselves with the cultural product in order to make profit and to make money, and by doing that they help to fund the popular culture and help to spread it either globally or nationally, and to do that access is increased, which therefore again makes the cultural product more popular, which means businesses maintain their involvement, or more businesses get involved, which again then increases how popular, or the access to the popular culture, which then again makes it more popular. And as you can see there, a bit of a cycle starts to happen here when that happens. So popular culture or a cultural product, once it becomes popular, is then formulated by corporations to be adaptable to meet various markets to attract global audiences. And this is kind of tied into why popular culture is evolving. It's constantly evolving and changing so that it becomes or maintains its popularity, so that there's wider consumer access and therefore businesses make profits from it. The introduction of television has also allowed for this dissemination process, and as we remember, dissemination means the targeted information to different demographics. So TV has allowed for that dissemination of popular culture, because like kids shows are usually shown between 3 and 6 p.m. or 7 and 9 a.m. So that's around the time when kids tend to be home, and usually around the time where children might be watching TV. So they're able to target that information or that culture to their specific group. And then obviously you get like Jerry Springer, Dr. Phil, The Ellen Show, things that are really targeted towards women during the day. And that's because demographically women are home more during the day than men. So they again are targeting their information to specific demographics. And because of this, as I've said, that through the targeting, it also provides a means for media to control popular culture. So controlling at which times people can watch this, although as we're going to come to see, this is changing a lot because of the internet. People aren't necessarily watching TV as much, and so that control is going away a little bit. So it's not only controlled through the time slots in which different shows are given, it's also controlled through the funding that it's given. So if a TV show is prepared to fund the making of a show, if they agree with kind of the content, the promoting of a show, how much advertisement they give to the time, so the advertisements they give to a show, the specific time slots they give to a show that has been given a prime time viewing, so between 7:30 and 8:30, is more likely to be viewed than ones that aren't. And so that's kind of promoting different shows, and just generally showing of programs. Some TV shows will not be shown on TV because the network companies refuse to show it, and so there's quite a bit of control in the way media kind of interacts with popular culture as well. And like I said, this is changing, and that's because the internet has had a much greater impact. There's greater control of accesses with the audience, with the viewers, rather than through the network companies. So, like, even though the network companies might choose to show a certain program at during the primetime slots, like The Biggest Loser or MasterChef, individual viewers can actually choose when they want to watch that because of the streaming services, and so that might actually change. So the audiences kind of get to determine more so what shows they want to watch, and the popularity of those shows more so than networks can, and this is increasing consistently over time. And so also through social media and websites and chat groups, individuals can manipulate the popular culture. So, I'm sure you've seen on YouTube different YouTubers or just random people making compilations of different videos, commenting on those different videos, criticizing, critiquing. So individuals are given much more ability to kind of manipulate the popular culture and access it and connect with it in different ways. The internet's also providing greater avenues for people to access paraphernalia associated with popular culture. So, like, if you wanted to wear a Pikachu costume to a Comic-Con show or a Comic-Con convention, you can order it online, even if it's not available in Australia. You can order it online to the exact specifications and style that you want and have it shipped to you. Before the internet, that wouldn't necessarily be possible, and so it's increasing access. As we're going to come and see with Bollywood, people can access songs, movies, media related to it, so read magazines, get on chat groups, discuss their favourite actors, all through the internet, which again, access would be fairly limited prior to that. So if you wanted to watch a movie in Australia before Netflix, internet, you'd have to wait till the DVDs became available in Australia, or you would have to wait until it came out into film, whereas now you can kind of watch whatever you want through YouTube or through Netflix or through any other kind of streaming service. So I'm going to quickly just look at manga and anime as an example of this, of how it's achieved widespread access. So just as a clarification, manga is the book version of anime. So anime is the films of, animated Japanese storylines and characters, and manga is the book or novel version of that. So as we know, for anime, it all started out as manga. So it started as a series of cartoon novels, and stories were mostly about superheroes, and there's a strong technological presence throughout manga as well. So this is just a quick example of the different manga stories that you can read. It's originated from Japan. But now this has shifted into clothing, pillows, pens, figurines, toys, and TV shows and films. And some TV shows and films we might be familiar with, which I'll cover in a moment. It's also a big part of Comic-Con and Halloween dress-up. So this is just a small example or a small sample of the kind of paraphernalia that is now associated with manga or anime. And having these objects and products, again, allows for individuals to identify with the popular culture, because this provides a sort of identity for the individuals that kind of buy these things, especially in Japan. Identity is definitely racked up with the kinds of paraphernalia you associate yourself with. And also, if you've heard about these people like Harajuku girls in Japan, they tend to dress up as some of their favourite, either cute kind of anime characters or some of their favourite manga characters, and that's kind of just what they wear on a day-to-day basis. So it's definitely providing a sense of identity for people that associate with it. And also it increases awareness of the cultural product, because if you see someone with figurines in their car or in their house, or carrying a bag or a pillow that looks like a manga or anime character, it produces interest and awareness of the popular culture, which then potentially increases access, because more people know about it, therefore more people can access it. And this is also changes have occurred because of this. So with the increasing access, so moving out of a Japanese market into a Western market, obviously languages need to change. No longer are manga books or anime just made in Japanese. You can now read manga books that have been translated into English. They still have similar styles. So, and this is something we'll look at as we go further into popular culture, that whilst there are changes, there's always continuities as well. So a lot of manga books you can read now that are translated in English, they still read from the back to the front. So if you don't know this about Japanese books, they tend to read the opposite way to what Western people read. So we open a book at the front and we read from left to right, and then we flip the page over and read left to right again. In Japan, they do the opposite. So they'll open a book at the back and they'll read from right to left, and then turn the page over and read right to left again. And so they'll start from the back and work their way, well, what we would consider the back, and work their way to the front. And so there's still a continuity. So if you ever pick up a manga book and it's in English, you might notice that if you open up the book the way we would normally open up a book, you'll probably be opening it up in the back, and you'll have to go to what we consider to be the back to then start to read it properly. And so, and this is also, the changes have also seen manga move to anime to again be more widely accessible to a larger market. And this is seen through the creation of TV shows and movies that are also spoken in English. So we might not know about this, but Powerpuff Girls used to be a manga novel that has now been turned into a TV show. And if you've ever watched a Powerpuff Girl clip or a Powerpuff Girls TV show, it's pretty Americanized, but it definitely originated from Japan and from manga. So there's been significant changes to Powerpuff Girls, as well as some other ones which we'll look at the moment, which are making it more accessible to Western markets. So eyes have been widened for starters. As you can see, the girls have quite wide eyes. This is again to make it more kind of relatable to Western markets, more accessible. If you there's kind of it's not necessarily ethnic prejudices or anything else, but it's like you are more likely to watch something you can feel an association with, or a connection or a link to. And part of this is you can feel a connection through ethnicity. And so making the eyes wider, making them seem white, Western, makes it more relatable, more associable in Western countries. Also, storylines have also been adapted to meet Western values, so like female empowerment. So again, we can feel a greater association with it. This can also be seen through Sailor Moon. As again, you can see the eyes have been widened. There's definitely Japanese style, Japanese scenery in their shows, but again, it's not necessarily that noticeable. Their accents are definitely American, and the shows that we will watch are all in English. And from just looking at this image, you wouldn't actually be able to tell that they're Japanese. They seem quite Western. And again, the storylines have changed or been altered a little bit to meet more Western values and Western ideals. And so again, that achieving widespread access, to do this, popular culture needs to be adaptable, needs to change to meet wider audiences and wider markets' desires and needs, in order for the popular culture to feel a connection or association with that market, and therefore enhancing the awareness and association with the product, and therefore increasing its access. So, as I've already kind of spoken about this, popular culture is constantly changing and evolving. A part of it is to enhance or increase its markets, but also it remains relevant or stays relevant. So popular culture exists within culture and society. That's why it's called popular culture. So it's not popular products, it's popular culture. And therefore, when society changes, popular cultures change with it. And this is so that popular culture remains relevant and popular. If it's not current and not reflective of current attitudes and interests or behaviours, then it won't be easily associated with. If you're going to watch a TV show and it feels like it's coming out of the 1950s, you're not necessarily going to really associate with it or connect with it. You won't feel like it's really relevant to you today, and therefore you won't necessarily want to watch it or access it, which means that it won't remain popular. So popular culture needs to be changing and evolving in order to meet current audiences' interests, behaviours and attitudes, and therefore remaining relevant and constant. If it doesn't, then desire is access, or desire for access is limited, and therefore profits don't make as much money, or businesses don't make as much profits that have been associated with that popular culture, and therefore they'll stop funding the popular culture. And it's kind of like that cycle I spoke before. If a popular culture loses its popularity, then businesses stop associating with it, which means that popular culture loses money, which means that that limits access, because it doesn't have the infrastructure in order to increase its platforms to make it accessible, which means it therefore becomes less popular, which means less businesses get associated with it, and then obviously you get that cycle going again. So popular culture needs to remain relevant and current in order for it to maintain its popularity, so that businesses will maintain their kind of association with it, and therefore profits continue to be made with it. So I'm going to go through teen films as a quick example to show you kind of how popular culture is constantly changing and evolving. Although what I do want to note again is that the existence of continuities. So and also how popular culture is kind of reflective of current attitudes in current times. So teen films, and this is also a point that we'll kind of go over in class as well, the concept of a teen was first created in the 1950s, and so the whole anxiety around what a teenager was, and are they adults, what are they expected to be doing, and the friction between 13, oh not even 13, like 15, 16-year-olds and their parents, based on the kind of music they were listening to, the leisure activities they were getting involved in, and the disposable income that they had, and what they were kind of doing with their income. So again, spending it on music and leisure activities was a real friction between adults, their parents, and teens at the time, and this is definitely reflected in the film. So I'm going to show you a quick clip from Rebel Without a Cause, which was a massive movie in the 1950s, quite popular at that time. And as you'll see, there's kind of a reflection through what she's talking about. There's a reflection on those attitudes about the frictions between teenagers and their parents based on their behaviour and what they were doing.
It's me. What makes you think he hates you, Judy?
I don't think. I know. He looks at me like I was the ugliest thing in the world. He doesn't like my friends. He doesn't like one thing about me. He called me a dirty tramp. My own father.
Do you think your father really means that?
Yes. No. I don't know. I mean, maybe he doesn't mean it, but he acts like he does. We were all together. We were going to celebrate Easter. And we were going to catch a double bill. Big deal. So I put on my new dress. And I came out, and he grabbed my face. He started rubbing off all the lipstick.
Okay, so that's 1950s. As you can see, there's some frictions between, what she's doing and how she's meant to be behaving, and her dad. And definitely that was the theme and the ideals that were reflected in teen films at that time. So then we go to the 1980s. During a period of time where there was growing debt in America, in Britain, and in Australia, environmentalism was becoming more of a concern. So there was growing concern about the environment and the state of the environment and what we were doing to our environment, and also greater growth of technology, and also some anxieties around that, about the role of technology in our lives. And this was really reflected, so the teen films at the time really reflected concerns for their world. Again, I'm going to show you a quick clip from The Breakfast Club, and what you might see as well is a bit of a continuity in teens and their association with their parents. So the concerns or feelings of disconnect between what their parents want and who they are.
We were all pretty bizarre. Some of us are just better at hiding it, that's all.
Oh, are you bizarre?
I might just quickly skip through some of this.
Well, when they pulled the tape off, most of his hair came off and some skin too.
Oh my God.
And the bizarre thing is that I did it for my old man. I tortured this poor kid because I wanted him to think that I was cool. He's always going off about, when he was in school, all the wild things he used to do. And I got the feeling that he was disappointed that I never cut loose on anyone, right? So I'm sitting in the locker room, and I'm taping up my knee, and Larry's undressing a couple lockers down from me. And he's kind of skinny, weak. And I started thinking about my father and his attitudes about weakness. And the next thing I knew, I jumped on top of him and started wailing on him. And my friends, they just laughed and cheered me on. And afterwards, when I was sitting in Vernon's office, all I could think about was Larry's father and Larry having to go home and explain what happened to him. And the humiliation. Fucking humiliation he must have felt. Must have been unreal. I mean, how do you apologize for something like that? There's no way. It's all because of me and my old man. Hate him. He's like this mindless machine that I can't even relate to anymore. Andrew, you've got to be number one. I won't tolerate any losers in this family. Your intensity is for shit. Win! 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 You son of a bitch.
So a lot of that film is about, kind of, if you've ever seen it, it's a great film. If not, I highly recommend it. But outside of that, a lot of it deals with these 5 teens' concerns for their future and what they're going to be able to do. And it deals with poverty and family breakdown a little bit as well. And it also deals with concerns for future, for job prospects. So definitely reflective of the current mood and the climate at that time and kind of what they were concerned about. And then we get to the 1990s, which is a period of relative stability and economic growth, and teen films kind of refocus back on teen relationships, high school life, consumerism, and aesthetics. Again, even though it's a little bit more lighthearted, there's still that continuity of concerns over the relationships between teenagers and their parents, the disconnect that they feel between, their parents' attitudes and values and their own. But you will see a definite difference between, teens' concerns. It's more inverted, more egocentric, and a little bit more kind of teen focused rather than to the future and what their lives might be. So this is a quick clip from Clueless, and again it's kind of showing that consumerism, focus on wealth, aesthetics, not necessarily future concerns and job prospects.
There you go. All right, share. Earth to share! Come in, share!
Notice the handbag, gold,
Miss
fashion,
Silver,
wealth.
I would just like to say that physical education in this school is a disgrace. I mean, standing in line for 40 minutes is hardly aerobically effective. I doubt I've worked off the calories in a stick of Carefree gum. We certainly
Gently exercise your mouth there. Now hit the ball.
Ms. Stoger, that machine is just a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Thanks for the legal advice. Dion, you're up.
Oh no, Miss Stoger. I have a note from my tennis instructor, and he would prefer it if I didn't expose myself to any training that might derail his teachings.
Fine. Amber?
Miss Stoger, my plastic surgeon doesn't want me doing any activity where balls fly at my nose.
Well, there goes your social life.
Stoger?
Okay, so I'll stop that just so we can get through the lesson a little bit quicker. Obviously, as you can see, a lot more lighthearted, less focused on their concerns for their future, more focused on their kind of then and now. Definitely more consumerist attitudes, more aesthetic attitudes, and just kind of general focuses on the economy and their wealth. So a clear difference between the 1980s and the 1990s. And then you've got 2000s films, which is an era of post-Columbine shooting, which was a high school shooting, was quite a devastating one, and the 9/11 attacks. So teen films are more focused on a dystopian kind of society. So looking at the failures of values of Western democracy and also just general failures of Western societies. So there's greater inclusions of teen suicide, rape, sexual assault, family breakdown, and general feelings of loneliness, isolation, and depression. A lot of films, teen films in the 2000s, especially early 2000s or mid 2000s, kind of dealt with these issues that teens were facing. And again, there's actually some really interesting teen films at the time, like Chum Scrubber and 237, which really deal with this dystopian society. So it paints the world as being this really pretty, beautiful place, but there's some really dark, twisted things going on. So this is a clip from 13, and again, it's kind of just dealing with teen family breakdown, issues around suicide, or not necessarily completely suicide, but at least self-harm, and general feelings of loneliness, isolation, and depression. Also, I just want to quickly warn you guys, there is some coarse language in this. Also, it does show the girl not necessarily cutting herself, but scars from cutting herself. So if you don't really want to watch that, you don't have to. This is kind of the last clip, so you can stop the video here if you want to. But I'll just quickly play you this scene. So yeah, like I said, if you don't really want to watch that, you don't have to.
No. Don't you dare! No, your hands please! Don't! Take cuts! It's none of your business, you fucking Frankenstein! Oh no. This child is my business, you little cunt. That's enough. You need to get out. Monia. Get out! Who would want to be in this shithole anyway? It fucking stinks in your mouth! Oh no. Get off of me. I hate you. Stop. I love you and your brother more than anything in the world. And I'll die for you, but I won't leave you alone right now. You want me to move in with Dad. You don't want me. You don't want me. I want your dad to be in your life more. I want you here with me. My heart. I'll make it right.
Okay, so as you can see in that clip, there's obviously issues with self-harm. As she's talking about, she wants her dad to be in her life more, so clear family breakdown. The whole film kind of deals with teen sexual experiences and concerns over that, and drug addiction, alcohol, as well as, like I said, loneliness, isolation, and depression. So as we can see through the decades, there's clear transitions between what teen films look like, what they focus on, how they feel. Again, though, you can see that there's that continuing presence of the existence between the relationships between the teens and their parents and how they feel about it, and that kind of disconnect that they feel with their parents as well. So like I said, even though that there's that popular culture is constantly adapting and changing, it still has a central idea or a central theme that it continues to kind of focus on, even if it's not, the main idea, that it's still present throughout, in order for because the values and the ideals that teenagers have, whilst they change, to some extent, they don't completely disappear, and you constantly get those ideas of teenagers feeling separated or different to their parents, and so obviously that theme and idea continues.